It's an open mic for stories that are centered on mental health, however you define that. So if you've got a story, you have an opportunity to tell it. And if you want to just chillax, then you can do that too. Thumbs up or thumbs down on my blurry background? Honest. I need honest. Thumbs up.
Not necessary.
All right. And Linda likes it because, I got like my brown panel kitchen. It's like from 1978. And, it's like brown panel. Like I might as well be in the Brady Bunch. And I just feel like the blurriness gives it like 10% less non-professionalism. Does that make sense?
Sure, do what you want, Sean.
That's all I really wanted to say. Hey, y'all. We're going to hang out for a little bit as people come in. And if you couldn't unmute or in the chat, let me know if you got a story. There really are no rules per se. Mental health story is whatever you deem it to be. And I typically ask that they not go too long. So usually 7 minutes, not the end of the world if it goes longer, but we don't want the life story. Today, in this particular meeting, life story is hard to do in one story. Yeah, that's it. So, Madeline, you have a story. I know that, right? No, I should shut. Ooh. Tracey's got a story. Let me admit a few more people. You could either unmute, you could put your thumb up, you could make a weird face, or you could put something in the chat if you have a story. That's a Nadia's got a story. That's two of us, Tracey and Nadia. Nice. All right. We will see if others come and want to tell. If not, it'll be not a lot of storytellers, which is fine. We can talk about stuff.
Texted me and said she's running late. So.
Who is?
Erica Blumfield.
Oh yeah, she'll come and she'll probably tell a story. All good. Where is everybody? I know some of you, but some of you are newer. I'm curious. People like Linda and Eve. Where are you? Are you in the, did you maybe find it through a meetup that's local in North Carolina? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yes, I found it on Meetup.
All right, so you're in Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah.
Good, sweet. I want to build my Carolina people. We've been doing this for almost 2 years, all virtual, and I would say 98% of the people involved in our events and whatever else we do are not in North Carolina. It's good that you're here. I'm glad that you're here. Nadia, for example, is in Chicago, and Tracey's in Queens, New York, and Rayellen's in North Carolina. Madeline's in Montreal. Hannady's out in California somewhere. Jeff is here. Jeff, show your face if you want. I want to see you, handsome man. I know you've had a really, really difficult past few months. It's not Jeff. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to make Jeff. Could you imagine, Jeff? Are you? Yeah. Okay. Just thinking. Cool, Jeff. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. I glad you're okay. What are the odds that the person who where and it says iPhone that's actually their name? Like it's very unlikely, right?
Very unlikely.
Very unlikely. Hello. And if you've never done anything in any sort of storytelling space ever, well, I'm happy you're here. Whether it be mental health or not, stories, good shit, good stuff, fun. Underrated, right, Tracey? Story. Yes. I mean, one.
Yeah, definitely underrated and underappreciated as a form of entertainment and expression.
Right. You don't have to tell me. I guess everybody who shows up to this already kind of gets that on some level, right? I'm going to vote for my favorite background before we actually officially get started. And you can join me. Nadia is not winning that particular contest. Sorry. You just got a bright white behind you. It's good. You don't win the best background. I'm loving,
I have
I'm
to
loving,
lose at something once in a while.
I'm loving Linda's background because she made a choice like I did, a bold choice to go blurry. Thank you, Linda. I'm not the only one. Hello, Linda and Sherry. Sherry's in North Carolina. Michelle Rogers is here. All right. I think Michelle Rogers is like a bigwig. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Sherry. You may unmute and or show your lovely faces, and in some way, whether it is in the chat or elsewhere, please let me know if you would like to tell a story. Right now I have Tracey, Nadia. I know Erica might be coming. Linda, is that a yes or no? Linda? Linda? Do you have a story today? Or are you frozen? Maybe she can't hear me. Am I losing my mind? Can you all hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Barbara's here. Cool. I hope you're well. I would love to know a little bit more about you if I don't know you. But I also know with some storytelling shows, maybe even more so something that's labeled mental health, people might be a little shy, which I get. Sherry, yes, you can unmute yourself, I think, Sherry. Please let me know. All right. Now you see you're
Oh,
good.
good. Oh, good. I finally got it.
You
Sorry.
are not winning my favorite background of the evening, just so you know.
No, I know.
Nadia's not winning. You're
I
not
won't
winning.
move.
Right now, it's a
Your
tie.
background, where's your microwave?
You're not supposed to tell people that. That's why I have it blurry, Sherry.
Oh, sorry. He doesn't have a microwave.
Hey, Vamsi. Some familiar faces and some new people. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Michelle. Michelle, I think we met a couple months ago at the Storytellers Project.
This is like
This is
romper room for
better.
grown-ups.
It's like what?
It's like romper room for grown-ups.
Yeah. Yes.
Remember when she used to look into the magic mirror and say, "Hi, Andrew.
Oh,
Hi,
is that? Yeah.
Carol.
Hi,
Hi,
Barbara.
Brian."
Hi,
Right,
Linda.
right.
Uh-huh. Barbara, do you have a story?
She used to say romper, domper, stomper, do, tell me, mirror, tell me, do.
All right. This is regressing or digressing.
I just-
This is going into places I don't like to go. And if you've not done this before with me, I'm going to mute a couple people who might have some extra loud ambient noise. After people are done with their stories, we talk a little bit. You don't have to, and the storyteller doesn't have to, but I think it's an opportunity when people tell a story to get to know them a little bit better, use it as an opportunity. So to the storytellers, no obligation, but I always encourage that. And to everybody else, and I'll remind us, if you saw the event description, it's like a long list of all the things I ask that people don't do, which we sometimes do, not you necessarily, when we talk about mental health stuff, i.e. fixing, i.e. pontificating, et cetera. I'll send the list again if you want it. It's just meant to learn more and be curious and open and continue the conversation if you want to. So, hey, Barbara, do you have a story today? No pressure.
Hi everybody.
Hey, Barbara.
I kind of thought I would listen. I figured you probably have enough tellers. I just have something really rough. It's not finished yet, so I think I'd almost would rather listen.
All right. It might be rather short. We might have only a few, but
Okay.
I always say that the right number is here. Right? The right number is here. And one last thing, because I do think these stories are very important. I record this. So if you're a storyteller who doesn't want to be recorded, you'll tell me and I'll pause it. No problem. 2, if you're on here right now and you don't want your face to be seen by the world, when eventually I upload this to YouTube, and maybe like in the next year, 4 to 5 people will see it. I'm working on my marketing. But anyway, just undo yourself. Go to the top right part of your photo, stop video, and then nobody will see you. And you could even, and I don't necessarily want you to do this, I think you could also do one more thing, stop video, where there's a way that we don't see you at all, but you could still obviously hear and see what's going on.
I have
So,
a question.
Yeah, please.
Can you jump in after a while if you like once everyone's already gone? Like if you have a story but it's not planned?
Sure. 100%.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I encourage you to if you're comfortable. That would be wonderful. And that goes for anybody until we're done. And Linda, did I ask you? I don't want to be a pain in the ass. Do you have a story? Linda's being feisty tonight. I hear you. Is that a yes or a no? Jeez. No. Okay. So Tracey, Nadia, Erica, who's coming late, and a few maybes. Great. That's fine. And a special thanks to my Carolina people, because as we try to go back into in-person stuff, I want my Carolina people around. Shari, right? And Rayellen, who I've never met, but I plan to at some point, and a handful of others who showed up. Yep. Yes, please. Cool. It's 12 after, so to honor the time, let's start. I'm going to mute everybody if you're not already muted. And I'm going to spotlight Tracey Starin, who's a rock star. And she's in Queens. It's the same borough I was born in, but this is not about me. And we're all going to listen. And then that's that. Cool. Are you good, Tracey, with that?
Sure. It's all about you, Sean.
It's always about me. I know. Let's stop kidding ourselves.
I was still on the phone with my mother when my friend Kelly arrived at my apartment. And I let her in and she breezed past me into my small studio. And she flopped on my bed and made herself comfortable and turned on the television. And she said, almost as an afterthought, "Did you hear River Phoenix died?" And I put my hand over the receiver so as not to interrupt my mother while she was talking. And I said to her in a stage whisper, "No, he didn't." And as she was flipping through channels on my television, she said to me, "Yeah, he did. He overdosed in front of some nightclub in LA." And now I didn't even care if I was interrupting my mother. I stretched through my tiny kitchen as far as the telephone cord would let me towards where she was sitting in my apartment. And I said out loud, "Now I know that's not true because River Phoenix doesn't even do drugs." And I had been a crazy River Phoenix fan since I was about 12 when I saw him in Stand By Me. And I used to buy all the teen magazines and pull his picture out and put them up on my wall with tape, even though my father kept yelling that the tape was going to destroy the wallpaper. And I knew all this stuff about him, like his family had been in a cult and Phoenix wasn't even their original name. And he was one of 5 kids that all had names like River and Rainbow. And his brother, Joaquin, who at one point had been Leaf, was also an actor. And I knew that they were vegan and they didn't even do drugs. And he was one of those Hollywood kids against drugs. And River Phoenix was like, he wasn't just one of those cute teen actors. They were calling him the next Marlon Brando and the next James Dean. And they were talking about how he was going to be the next generation of big star. He was Leonardo DiCaprio before there was Leonardo DiCaprio. And so I knew that he hadn't collapsed of an overdose outside some club in LA. And I said to my mother on the phone, "Kelly says that River Phoenix died outside some club in LA last night." And my mother said, "Yeah, honey, he did. I didn't want to tell you that." And I said, "No, that can't be true." Because I believed what I had been told about River Phoenix all these years. And this was before the internet, when we could just go online and find out what was true. We had to wait until we were told information in little small drops like maple syrup. And so we went on television and we waited to find out what had happened. And another one of my best friends came over. His name was Chris. And this was my junior year of college, and we spent so much time together. We were together every day. And this year for me, I was weighing whether or not I wanted to stay in college and what I wanted to do with my life. And I was suffering from severe anxiety, and Chris knew all about that. When Chris came over and I told him, River Phoenix might have died. And he said, "Yeah, I heard. Good riddance." And I looked at him and I said, "Well, what do you have against River Phoenix?" And he said, "Well, if he was a junkie, then he deserved to die." And I said, you you think at 20, you get to decide who deserves to die? And he said, if he was fooling around with heroin, then he deserves to go. Anyone who's fooling around with that gets exactly what they deserve. And I was furious, and I was frightened, and I was anxious, and I didn't even know all the feelings that I had, because River Phoenix wasn't even somebody that I knew, which Chris brought up to me. He's not even someone you know. Why do you care? You don't care. This is not even a real person. It's a picture in a magazine. Why are you getting so upset? So a few months later, I was at work, and a friend walked in to see me, and she said to me, "Did you hear Kurt Cobain died?" And I said, "Again?" Because the month earlier, it had been reported that Kurt Cobain had died, when he hadn't. He had been revived. But by the time I got home from work that day, it appeared that it was true. Kurt Cobain was really gone. And it was kind of a monumental thing in the musicals, because Nirvana had been a signal change in music. It had been a whole new revolution in music. And now it seemed to be over just as quickly as it started. And my friend Chris called me to get dinner, as we did every night. And I said, "Hey, how was your day?" And he said, "Pretty shitty day, huh?" And I said, "Why? What happened?" And he said, "Well, Kurt Cobain died." And I felt something. I felt something in my chest go. And I said, "Oh, really? Kurt Cobain, that made your day a shitty day? How come?" And he said, "Well, because he meant so much to so many people." And I said, "But you didn't even know him. He was just a picture in a magazine." And he said, "But his music meant so much." And I said, "But he was fooling around with heroin. And anybody who fooled around with heroin deserved to die. They deserve to get exactly what they got." And Chris and I argued for a while, and he hung up the phone on me. And I looked at the receiver in my hand. I expected to feel a sense of smug self-satisfaction. And instead, I burst into tears. Because treating people as badly as they treat you doesn't make things better. It makes things worse. Thank you.
Tracey, thank you, Tracey.
Thank you.
Wow. Like I said, we'll have an opportunity to talk. People, if you have, and this is, if something pops into your head right now, you want to ask Tracey, or even like sort of use that story as a sort of prompt or bridge to have a conversation, just jot it down, and we'll have time after. Love the stories, and I also love the conversations. And I have got a lot to say about your story, Tracey. Not the story as much as like, oh man, that's that's not an uncommon narrative. Even today, drug users, bad people. It's like, what? Yeah. I remember both of those deaths. Yeah. By the way, random thought, and then we'll move on to Nadia. I didn't know this until I think after, but I went to school at the University of Florida, and they're from Gainesville. That's where they hung out, and they're like, it wasn't a cult. It was something cultish, right? Like
their parents had been in the Children of God cult, and then they got out, and then they moved to. They had been missionaries for the Children of God, and then they moved to Florida, and they got out.
Yeah, I heard stories because I wasn't cool. I know that comes as a huge surprise. That like the cool kids in college went and saw him because he was like in a band, and he was already like he was like a cool dude then, River Phoenix, right? But I didn't know that. And here I am now. Look how it worked out. Thank you, Tracey. Tracey, thank you. Tracey's tells a lot of stories, and almost always virtually, you'll see Earth behind her. Almost always. Which still is vying for the best background. Even though it's not for me, it's still vying for the best background. Respectfully, Nadia Shari won't be winning that particular. You won't get that award tonight. It's don't take it personally. Barbara has a question. Yes, that's a fair question. Okay, I don't think Tracy has a condo.
It's,
She might be
it's,
on the moon, but she's renting.
Yeah.
She doesn't own shit.
it's actually more of a little joke, but
Okay. Cool. Nadia, thank you, Tracy. Very much appreciate
Thank you.
Yeah. Snap, snap. Nadia's in Chicago. She also tells a lot of stories. She's also really nice. Nadia, you want me to spotlight you, and then we want to hear your story. Cool.
Yeah, but I have a shitty background.
I would lead with that.
Okay. The hot sun is shining all over my cold body, trying to warm it up. I'm laying in the sand, shivering, exhausted from the stampede of thoughts that plague my mind. You're not worthy of love. Look, you're alone at the beach. Everyone here is with someone. I look around and I see that my mind is right. There are families at the beach with little children. There are couples holding hands. There are people with dogs. I have nobody with me. As if on cue, my mind throws me another jumble of thoughts. Nobody loves you. At your job, nobody loves you. Your students are out of control. The other teachers don't talk much to you. At home, nobody loves you. Your kids just need you around for help. Your boyfriend is barely home. Even when you're little, nobody loved you. So why would it be any different now? Tears spring out of my eyes as I force myself to put a stop to my thoughts by reminding myself that I just started the new teaching job, that my children are so young and of course they need my help, that my boyfriend works and he's also putting together a play. But I already feel that I'm fighting a losing battle because my negative thoughts gain enough credibility in my mind that now they bring into my mind all the moments when I felt unloved or inadequate. It's like a PowerPoint slideshow, each moment on its own slide with same title, written in big, bold, black letters, not loved. The slides keep playing faster and faster in my mind, and I feel like I'm sinking into a roaring black tunnel, scared and nauseous. Tears keep flooding my face and slide down to my sides into the sand as my fingers dig deep into the sand. I want this to stop. Please, someone, just make these thoughts go away. I want to feel light and content. Light and content? Asked my mind. You are light, 100 pounds for 5 feet 7 inches height. And content? Do you think you deserve content? I plead with my mind to stop. It is a beautiful summer day. The sun is shining. The waves are calmly rolling to the shore. But then the most powerful thought of all screams into my head. See those waves? See that ocean? The world will be a better place if you just disappear. Come on, just walk to it. You don't know how to swim. It'll be over soon. I spring up to my feet and run unsteadily towards the ocean. Yes, everything is going to be better without me in it. I won't be a burden to my friends who probably by now are tired of seeing me cry. I won't be a burden to my family who has started to worry about me losing too much weight. My children do not need a mother like me, broken. I think it's better for me to disappear now when they're still young so they won't remember me. And then my pain and everyone's pain will go away. I found the solution to all my pain. No, I don't want to die, but this could be over in minutes. No, stop, mind, stop. I go back to my spot on the beach, grab my bag, my towel, and run away from the treacherous, calm ocean to my car. And then I drive aimlessly, sobbing, till I noticed this place on the other side of the road named Healing Center while I was stopped at a red light. I make a squeaky tight U-turn, pull right in front of the place, walk inside, straight to the receptionist. was surrounded by the soft glow of half a dozen lit candles, and I whispered to her wearily, I need healing, please. What comes after is a beginning of a long, winding healing journey that involves a couple trips to the emergency room due to intrusive negative thoughts and debilitating panic attacks. Finding a therapist that does not tell me how surprised she is that I'm still alive. Trying different antidepressants till a mini stroke puts a stop to that, but mostly learning to fall in love with me because I'm worthy of love. Boom.
Boom. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Nadia. All right. I may be asking a question fairly soon who could relate to components or parts of that story. If you do not raise your hand, I will be a little bit like, really? Okay, that's cool. That's cool. No judgment. A little surprised. I just put in the chat. If anyone else has a story, let me know. Thanks again, Nadia. Yeah. Yeah. Just so you all know, we have events most Sunday nights, not all, but most different types of events. This is one. We have something called The Flash, which is sort of like improv and story. Cool, Rayellen, awesome. We have something called the 99-second story slam, which is a competitive thing with 99-second stories. They're fun. Several people who are here this evening have either told stories there or been there in the audience. And yeah, so I also have a podcast. This is not about me. Well, I guess that's bullshit. I guess it is. I just want to let people know Grit has a podcast, and I have a second podcast called Suicide Noted, which probably pertains more to our conversation here. And where I talk to suicide attempt survivors. So, and I want to let you know that because you might want to be a guest on that if you've attempted, or I let people decide for themselves what an attempt means. So for some people, that means they ideated a lot and they're still alive, and that's fine. But if you know somebody or you might benefit from hearing those conversations, it's called Suicide Noted. And then that's it. You just put it in Apple or Spotify and you'll hear the stories. So it's, yeah, that's that. All right, we're waiting on Erica. I know she's got a story, and Rayellen, wonderful, and JJ's a maybe, and Barbara's a maybe. Did I get that right? Did I miss anybody? I don't want to miss anybody. All right, cool. Rayellen in North Carolina. I'm going to unmute you and spotlight you. I appreciate you being here and telling the story.
I appreciate there being space.
For sure.
So I awake from the dream and I ask the question, what was that like? It's a really vivid dream, and I'm doing a mindful dreaming practice right now where before I go to sleep, I set an intention, not a to-do list, not like my mind busy, but tonight I would like clarity on fill in the blank. And then sometime around 4 or 5, I wake in the morning from a vivid dream and I ask, what was that like? And some kind of magic happens where what that was like relates to my question. So here's my dream. I'm standing at the window and they hand me a baby. And I look at the baby and I think, this one's hardy. It can go to just any old family. And I pass it on, and then I get another baby. And this one is very, very tender and needs to go to a quiet family. And I pass it this way. And the dream goes like this, and I'm sorting babies like it's the thing I know how to do. And it looks just like the cafeteria in my high school where they used to pass us cheeseburgers. And I wake up and I think, well, what the hell was that like? And then I recall, what was my question? And so I'm at a personal growth workshop, and all day long we talked about, guess what you talk about at your personal growth workshops? My mother. So how in the world is, how can I feel good about my relationship with my mom related to sorting babies? So I lay there in the dawn, pre-dawn, that sort of special time where the gauze is thin between this and the other world. And I think, what was sorting babies like? And I suddenly recall the first week that I had my son and my mom came to stay on the couch, and it's the middle of the night and I'm up with this thing and I have no idea how to baby because they just let you take them home. And my mom says, give him to me. And she takes him and she says, let's see what this baby wants. And she says, is he a bouncer? No, he's not a bouncer. Okay, does he want the football hold? And she does the football hold. No, he's not that. And she finds the position with him just nice upright on her shoulder. And she does the elevator. Apparently that's a thing. You can do the elevator knees. And he calms down a little. And she says, this one's going to be a worrier. And sure enough, when he puts his little head up, he looks around like his little turtle head is like looking around the living room. And I'm at a personal growth workshop and I'm thinking I was sorting babies. And my mom that night got up in the middle of the night with me to help me learn this baby. And she looked at him. Now I've been carrying this story that I was not seeing, that I was third of 4 and then 6, and that she never really got me. But then I'm realizing that as she was holding this little baby of mine in the middle of the night, it was familiar to her. Like she had done this for 1,000 hours before, maybe with 4 other babies, which means with me, that no matter what happened afterwards, that first week when they sent my mom home with they just sent them home with them. And she held me in her arms and she looked me in the eyes and she said, let's see who this is. I spent $600 on that workshop. And I spent the whole day Saturday going blah, 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 poor me, my mom, my mom. But that night, in the middle of the night, sorting babies, I realized no matter what happened, somebody caught me in that very first few days, and it's all okay. Boom.
Mm. Mm. Have I heard you tell a story before, Rayellen? I don't know if I have. Maybe.
Yeah, I told a clothing
What?
optional one before and we got weird comments, so I tried to go clothing with
Oh.
this time. Although the babies were naked, but I'm not telling you that part.
Right. We don't need to know that. It's not, doesn't matter.
Not relevant.
Not really relevant. We could use our imaginations. Wow. Thank you for telling that story. Yeah. Huh. Personal growth workshops. Yeah. Has anyone done kind of a tangent here, but I did option back in the day, which used to be EST, right? Was that EST? It's an interesting experience. It was an interesting experience. Some people, yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you've, yeah. I will also offer people, in part because we don't have as many storytellers this evening as we sometimes do. Like after everyone goes, even if you don't have a story, quote unquote, and you just want like to get something out, by all means, sometimes you got to get it out. So I want to offer you that space to just get it out. It's cool. No judgments. JJ said, is JJ still here? JJ said she might tell a story. I don't want to put any pressure on anybody. Are you still here, JJ?
I am still here.
You're winning by the way. You're just beating Eve right now in the best background.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Wow. I didn't know I was in a
That's-
contest, but that's
It's
great.
a big moment. Do
Moment.
you want to share something with us?
Well, I always like the opportunity to talk. I did a lot of 12-step work. And I know it's cathartic to speak.
Okay.
I had, and maybe I can start with a little appreciation for the forum. I stumbled across it through Meetup, and yeah, I've been looking for a place to, a storytelling venue for a long time. And I search, and then I give up. And in the last about 6 months or so, maybe 9 months, I found ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, and I've been learning a lot. And it's been cathartic to understand sort of the physiological aspects of trauma, and it's opened so many things. And so I can share a story of the breaking point between my journey from North Carolina back to Michigan, which happened 5 years ago or so. And I had been having some trouble with my eye, and it progressed into a headache that wouldn't stop, and which took me to a doctor, which antibiotics didn't work because that wasn't the problem. I go to an eye doctor, gives me some drops, and those don't work, and they don't work, and they don't work. And one afternoon, he says, well, do you have time to go to an eye specialist? I'm like, okay, it's been near a week already or more. And I go, yeah, well, I can make this appointment. He goes, no, I'm going to make it for this afternoon. I'm like, oh, interesting. So I go to this specialist by myself, and they look at my eye and they tell me, oh, this is like the third worst thing that we don't like to see. And I've been dealing with headaches and all kinds of discomfort on top of my mental health crash courses. And that led to a week where I had car trouble. My car was stolen. I had a house fire. It was the craziest week I've ever had. And it ended up having to have surgery on my eye. And I've recovered some vision, but not all of it. And it was really a story that where everything went wrong and then everything went right. Because every time something came up, there was an immediate solution. And towards the end of the whole thing, I just kept on saying, at the last thing, it was just like, come on, what you got next? Come on. I'm getting it. I can trust. So that was 5 years ago. And I'm still on the journey. And there's still ups and downs. And they seem to all be being handled. Thanks.
Thanks, JJ. Thank you. Yeah. Is that by chance a photograph of where you live?
Yes, in Michigan.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very pretty.
Pretty lakes everywhere.
Everywhere up there in Minnesota, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
We got some lakes in North Carolina, but I don't know if they look like that.
No,
Not
those
sure.
are brown.
Yeah,
You guys
ours are
got brown.
We got brown lakes down here. I don't know what
And
makes a
snakes.
lake brown or blue, but
Rocks at the bottom.
oh, there we go. Okay. I'm glad you had an answer. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was just more of a who knows such a thing. JJ knows. Fantastic.
Handmade or not.
Yeah. Thank you very much, JJ. Glad you found this. And of course, you others, come back when we have these again, if you want to listen to these stories or tell one yourself. I don't think there's that many. There might be some, but there's not nearly enough spaces for certain kinds of stories. It's astounding, really. So it's not a pat on my back. I'm just like, how can this not be a huge thing? I don't get it. If you have an answer for me, if someone knows why, I would love to hear it. Yeah. Just so you all know, there's one person who's coming late who might have a story. But at this point, nobody else has a story. So sort of an open invitation to one of two things, or maybe more. One, you can vent about something in your life if you feel like it's going to be something that's healthy for you. And we're just going to listen. We're not going to say anything. And then two, if you have a question for one of the storytellers, and I can't guarantee that they want to answer it, but they might, to have a conversation about some of the stuff that came up in their stories. If you have a question for me about this or my work involving suicide attempt survivors, I am always happy to talk about it. So it's sort of open, and yeah. People don't talk. Yes, Sherry, you are correct. Yeah, JJ. Yeah, JJ. That. And there are open mics, JJ. They're out there, but maybe the virtual space is a little different.
It was funny, Rayellen's story. I thought she was from a place called Rayellen, North Carolina. I thought, what's her name? I don't see her name. Anyway, I dream journal and stuff like that, and I kind of have a Jungian perspective. And I read something real cool the other day. One Jungian analyst says, look at the characters in your dream as who's visiting you. Instead of asking, like, what does it mean? It's like, well, who is visiting you?
Oh, wow.
Which I just kind of thought was like, I just never thought of it that way. You know, I always think like, well, obviously everything we dream is us, every character we dream, but I just kind of like that. Who is visiting you and why? So just my own little 2 cents.
You know, in terms of mental health, you know, yes, things are nowhere near they need to be, but think about what was going on 50, 60 years ago, and people being locked up in hospitals, and the Haldol Shuffle, and you know, and back wards, and this, that, and the other. Of course, now they release them to homeless shelters, which is pretty pathetic. But things have improved, at least from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my brother spent, you know, he was in Allentown, Pennsylvania hospital, and they actually have services there. So he made a good decision going to Pennsylvania, which I'm sure was not unconscious. And so he'd be in the state hospital there, and then, you know, he would elope. I always thought that was the bizarrest word for people running away from the hospital.
Oh, is that what they called it?
Yeah, you eloped from the hospital. And, you know, then of course he'd stop taking his meds. He didn't have his meds. And, you know, who would want to be on the meds that made you feel like a zombie? But then eventually, so, you know, the police would pick him up and bring him back to Allentown State Hospital. It was like a revolving door. And that was not at all uncommon. I mean, that pattern. And then he ended up on a medicine Respiro, whatever it is. You know, and he said to me, it saved my life. I mean, he was chronic. I mean, it had been decades, but still, you know, he was able to live in his own apartment, and, you know, they ended up closing that hospital, which is amazing. Because they had community services. But things have gotten a lot better. They got so far to go. And the stigma.
Is he still alive?
No, he died about 5 years ago from lung cancer, as like many, many people in long-term psychiatric hospitals, he smoked.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
He was young. He was young.
Not a lot to do.
Right.
No, and it was a stimulant. It counteracted some of the other garbage.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question for Jay. Is Jay still there?
JJ?
JJ?
I think so.
I just have one J on my thing.
Oh, that's Jeff. Jeff is
Oh,
Jay.
oh, sorry. Oh,
JJ is the
who's
one
this?
with the lake, and the lake has rocks on the bottom, we think.
Okay,
This is
well,
Jeff. This is Jeff. I'm here.
no, but the woman who had just told her story there about just a little while ago.
Yep.
Pardon me then. Disregard.
When she when she said bring it on, I can trust it now.
Mm.
I would like to know who she was talking to.
Thanks for the question. I think thus the universe is how I picture it.
Okay.
Is that what you thought, Madeline? Well, you didn't know.
Well, it could be more strict, like we're talking about God, the source, or whatever, or a more mystical, laid back sort of universe. I have a lot of it in my life, so I wonder, I often ask the question, where exactly are you coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we live in a dualistic world,
Oh, yeah.
and think about how many doubles we can have within ourselves. I just think, there's something about touching something outside yourself, or something outside yourself touching you.
Okay, so so what, you were ready for just the next thing being thrown at you?
Yeah, I had gone through,
A lot.
probably a lot in 1 week.
Mm.
And then so I took myself to Charlotte. I lived in Raleigh.
Right.
And I was going to go see a speaker, Brene Brown.
Oh.
And I was, happy for myself. I took the back roads there. I was going to enjoy myself, treating myself, right? I was get there during the day so I could see well. And I lost the free book they gave me. I could barely concentrate. But so I go to bed, take myself to breakfast the next morning, really proud of myself. And then the manager comes over to me and says, "Are you Joanne?" And I was like, yes. Why would a manager be coming and hunting me down? So there was a gang had gone through the parking lot and smashed 5 cars in the parking lot. And guess whose car was hit?
Oh.
And I had a spare set of keys in the fucking console. So I called up my insurance. They had someone out there by 1, and I made a 5 o'clock, happy hour meetup in Raleigh. I made it.
Bring it on.
Bring it
Bring
on.
it on.
Bring it on.
Trying to do this. Apparently you got a solution for me.
Well, I have a question, and that's this. Why is it the first time I did this particular event was sometime in the late fall of 2020, I'd say, maybe early fall, I don't remember. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we've had these. Why are 80+% of the people that come to these women? I don't, and so my mind goes to two places. Women might be more drawn to story stuff. That might be part of it. But the other one is more, I don't think that men are suffering any less from however you define mental health stuff, right? So are they not willing to talk about it? Are they willing to talk about it, but story isn't the right format? They'd rather go do it at like a 12-step meeting type meeting or a live support. I'm curious, like, and Ramsey and Jeff, you're here. Thank you. You're men. I believe you identify as men. What the fuck?
I guess mostly we are shy and we cannot express ourselves.
Mm.
Most of them, and I think, yeah. But like I'm trying to break my shell,
And I appreciate that, man. Are you? You've come to one of these before, right? You're in Charlotte, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I used to live in Charlotte. Right now, I moved to Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. What's up with Carolinians going in the Midwest? You and Jay, what's going on? Why are we all going back to the Midwest?
I'm like, like the birds, like, wherever I find job, like that's where we have to move.
I mean, I'll always support Columbus, Ohio. I just got to put that out there.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from.
So. I wanted to give an answer to Sean's question.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Me too. I feel that society expects men to be strong and not cry so much, and I feel like a man acknowledging that they're fighting mental illness, it's a sign of weakness for some. And I think that's why there are more women who feel okay sharing that and less men because they don't want to be perceived like they're weak.
But can I ask, this might be a self-selected group of people who are drawn to this kind of thing. But when a man opens up that way, this is going to be hard for you to admit to if you feel this way. I understand that. Do you see that as weak? Because I don't. Does any? Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I'm wondering I know where that's coming from. I think culturally, as a larger thing of messages we get and at the schoolyard and culture, but it's just confusing. Like, I don't think,
Yeah, Sean, I don't think that women see men who have emotional intelligence as weak. I think it's a toxic masculinity that men perpetuate. And if we're gonna gender and make binary, it's similar to the way that most men are fine. Like, go ahead and show up as yourself. Don't wear makeup. I don't need you to put heels on. But women dress for women. And I think men hide their feelings to fit in with other men. That's super overgeneralism, but but I put it in the chat. Like, I do feel like I notice that men tend to tell more stories about like what happened with plot. And I noticed women seem to gravitate more towards stories about relationships and stories about how I felt or stories about how I grew. Yep. And so mental health is hard to tell as an action story. And so I think that might be part of it.
I
also think
I'm
that
sorry,
men
go
don't want to sit and listen to a dozen people tell stories about their mental health. That's another thing. I think men don't want to listen to it either.
Interesting.
I think it is about listening.
Hang on, Sherry, and then Madeline, and then Eva. I saw your comment, Eva. I want to include you as well.
No, I don't have to go yet. I think Madeline had something to say.
Okay, go good.
Well, all I was thinking was that I think a lot of men don't listen to it, or aren't men that listen. like I'd say, Sean, you might be one of the different ones. Okay. like, yeah. And my friends leave my house and say, okay, we're gonna go out and find a Jean-Pierre, which is who's my husband, because he listens, he cares, he talks. And all my girlfriends, all my gay friends, all these people are saying, well, that's the kind of person I want, because they're just not a whole lot out there. I'm thinking, maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think there's a right answer. Because I'm curious what people think and their experiences. Eve, can I unmute you? And you had said you want to share something. I want to hear this. Yeah, please. Yep.
Okay, so about 25 years ago, I was in my first year of law school. I went to a very good law school, not an Ivy League, but pretty close. And for those of you who have never been to law school, congratulations. It sucks. And it's super, super highly competitive. And for somebody like me who kind of ended up in law school by accident, it was extremely intimidating. So it's super competitive, and the wheat and the chaff separate very quickly, and the cliques form very quickly. And before you're even through with your first week of school, you are competing for partner track jobs. So I'm in my first year, I'm in torts. It's one of my first classes that you have to take, it's torts, right? And the Professor Marshall, he's been around for, like 800 years. He's like Methuselah, teaching torts. And it's these big, huge classrooms. They're like auditorium type classrooms. There's over 100 people per class. So it's huge. And they teach, this school taught with the Socratic method of teaching, which means that you get called on. The professor just calls on people randomly. So you better have your shit together. Otherwise, you're going to look really stupid. And it's a way of forcing students to learn. Not necessarily the best way, but that's the way they did it. And it's the way they've been doing it for decades. So he has this, the Professor Marshall asks, he has this example of, it's called the eggshell man. It's like you take the person that's injured, the way that they are. Anyway, he's trying to explain this concept to the class, and he looks up and he said, Dan, what say you, Dan? And Dan is this very handsome, like 6'3", very Scandinavian. I grew up in Minnesota, very Scandinavian, handsome man. And he says, well, Professor Marshall, I would say that would be like a china plate. And Professor Marshall says, oh, you're a genius. And everybody looks at him. And after this, for several days, I noticed like all of these guys that come to school in like with blazers and loafers and, that really kind of stand apart. Their parents are judges and stuff. They all start clinging around him. He's part of their group now, right? These are like the guys that are going to be making $1 million. They're going to sue tobacco companies. So about a month into school, I walk up to the school, I walk up to the front door. There's 4 doors across the front, and there are all these signs, and they say, have you seen Dan? They have a picture of him, have you seen Dan? And it's his parents have posted these signs. He's been missing for several days. Here to find out, Dan tried to commit suicide by jumping off a bridge. His life was saved. He was then put into inpatient care. So I went to visit him, see how he was doing. And I tried to I wasn't friends with him by any means, but when I'd see him, he came back to school. And when I'd see him, I really, was like, Dan, how you doing? What's going on, buddy? What I noticed though, is immediately upon his return, he was never part of that group again. They didn't even acknowledge that he existed. He was cut loose from the herd. And that's the way that it is in a lot of the world. It sure is like that in a lot of professions. And it taught me to never be vulnerable in professions or in school. So maybe that it helps address your why don't men come to this and talk about this. It's not that men don't suffer from the same or similar mental health issues. It's that in a lot of society, you don't just, you lose a lot. You lose
So
your,
it's
you lose a lot.
so
That's,
it's a form of
that's
sort of.
my story.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds to me almost like a sort of form of survival, though,
Mhm.
right? Like if and presumably, you know, a suicide attempt is a more extreme version. But if I open up about my stuff, I'm going to get shunned or might get shunned from the group, which matters to me. So I'm not going to share that thing to increase the chances that I don't get shunned or marginalized, or I guess whatever, fill in the word, right? That otherness. That makes sense to me, though, why someone wouldn't share. And it's not just a perceived, it's, I think you're like, from what you're sharing, there's some truth to it. It's not just this perception, it's real.
It's absolutely, it was absolutely true. I mean, his parents, I mean, apparently he had a history, you know, he was probably in his early 20s and he had had a history of mental health issues. And so his parents were legitimately, this wasn't like a 22-year-old who just didn't call his mom, you know, one weekend. I mean, they really were so afraid that they put up these signs at his school. And yeah, it was legitimate. But, you know, I was so happy for him because you know, in our third year of law school, I took a mental health clinic with him actually. And I asked him, you know, so where are you going to practice law? What's your plan? Because everybody has these plans. And he said, oh, I'm doing improv. And so he went into improv. And then what I took from that is like, it's real nice when your parents can pay for your education and you can go off and be a comedian, you know?
That's a separate thing, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Did you practice law? Did you follow that path? You did?
Yeah, I just retired a few months ago.
Wow. Congrats, I guess. Is that what someone says when they retire? I don't know.
I retired from the military, so I think it's a congratulations.
Yeah. It's a thank you for your service for sure.
Oh, well, yeah, you're welcome.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, Eve. It's nice to meet you, and I appreciate you sharing that. That does shed some light. I hadn't really thought about it like that. You know, it's ironic in a weird way, and that's probably not the best word. The thing that would help him, maybe case by case, the most is to not be shunned, and that's what we do. It's bizarre. I don't quite. Yeah, I'm sure I've been guilty of it on sort of on smaller scales in my life. I don't know. Yeah. Jeff, I'm sorry, man. You had something you were saying, and then I think I might have cut you off.
It's a bit of a tough angle, and you know, Sean will tell you here, I've been absent from the story scene for a while, and I'll say, you know, I grew up in a small town where I moved there as the theater kid, and there's no theater there. So I went from being this, you know, emotionally in touch, you know, character, I guess, to then football town, and everything is about masculinity, and you know, we got to go beat up the enemy, etc. And that is where emotion is sort of shunned a bit. So I'm still working on re-releasing that, I guess, for lack of a better word. And Sean will tell you that there's lacks for better words here right now. But sorry, independently, not for him, for me. But it's a you know, result of that football culture, for again, lack of a better term. So you know, you sort of fall into that as opposed to a natural part of your personality. It's, you know, the way that society is sort of pushing that away. So it didn't, you know, I had to get back into theater post college, to really reconnect with that, and the struggle that I had leading up to that, separation, I suppose. It's yeah, it's part of society doing that. And right now, I know I'm ranting a bit, so apologies here. But I just want to say that that's that's what I have gone through, and this is where I personally have been able to find a release in these stories. And hosting storytelling, Nadia came to my open mic before, and it was just such a wonderful opportunity, primarily to share emotion. Primarily our open mic and what we hosted was all about emotion and sharing yourself. And I think I don't know, I'm ranting here a bit, pardon me. So
No, you're good, man.
there we are.
I haven't heard your voice in a long time.
Yeah, it's been working on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All good. I've got some bullet points to tell a story at some point, but
All right.
that's
When you're ready.
working on it.
Yeah.
What
But
is Jay's, oh, sorry. What is Jay's open mic?
Jay?
Oh, Jeff. So we had an open mic. There's a series of them in Chicago called Do Not Submit. And we had, so around the city, a lot of little bars would open up. And we had this little room up on the top of the bar, and we'd always fill it with people who they had 7 minutes to tell whatever they want, personal true story. No one had any idea what the next person was telling, but our main priority for our branch of it was to let people be themselves and get it out. And there were a lot of comedians and funny people. Just here's this one time that I was playing football. But there were, heart-wrenching people just being able to express themselves. And it's similar to this that Sean has set up. And I don't know, I'm ranting a bit, but it was if they're able to reestablish it as a whole around the city, because right now I believe it's monthly in one spot. If they're able to reestablish that, it's one of the most important things for me and to a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder like in that example that Eve, you had pointed out, like if one person in that group had said, you know what, I want to talk to him. Like if one person sort of pushes back against what seems to be the natural way of things, which is we're all going to sort of keep our distance. It's not a call to action, like fight back. But I think a lot of people, it's not even really on there. It's not super conscious. They just do it. And it's like one person's like, yeah, well, that's actually, he might need some company. I don't know. Now I'm ranting, but I don't think it's all necessarily coming from a bad place. They're responsible for it, but I think they just go with the flow, and the flow in a toxic masculinity football culture is that's the flow, and it's hard to fight the flow, but it's doable. All right, cool. Yeah, Linda and I have been chatting a little bit privately. I can work you in, Linda, of course. She's got a story, but it requires a photograph.
Which Sean said to share screen. I've been working on that. I can't do that.
All right, how you can do it on your phone, right? And show us.
Yeah, I'm going to hold up my phone And this is one of my eyes, but both of my eyes look this way. And so if I don't
Hang
know
on.
if you can.
Go, pull it back a little bit. Pull it back a little bit more. All right, all right. That's
Wait,
too close. That's scary movie close.
Well, you got to see the color.
I mean, it looks like you have a nice eye. I don't know what we're supposed to see there.
You're going to see
An eye.
Is it black?
there.
This is turning into a different kind of show, Linda.
Can you see this?
I could see the scratches on the inside of your eye, but it looks like it might be your phone.
That's my phone. No, what I really, well, you can't see. You're just gonna have to believe me.
I'll just believe you. Of course we believe
Okay.
you.
Oh, man, my eyes right up here. My eyes, you can't really tell on the computer, but they're very, very weird color. They're blue, and the circle around my pupil is an orange brown, and then I have streaks like octopus that go out from the center. And the reason this story came to me is because I just did a 10-day seminar and someone commented on my eyes. A person this evening had a story about an eye issue, and somebody else was talking about being in their body and out of their body and being a different person. And I went, I just want to share this story. It's not all that long, but it would make more sense if you could see the colors in my eyes. So here goes. My mother, who abused me, tried to kill me 3 times before I was 2, hated my looks. She told me I was ugly, a tramp, a slut, unworthy. She especially said my face and my eyes were weird. A few years ago, though, I had to see an eye specialist, and he said that my eyes were the most unusual color of all humans. In his practice, he had only seen maybe a half dozen people with such color. Octopus, brown streaks in the middle of an aqua ocean. So I was looking at my eyes in the mirror, and I saw pupils that looked like maybe a black hole with an ocean around them. And Mother Earth and her image is now reflected in my body. It made me feel infinite. Now, honestly, if I've been sitting in a bar drinking and somebody has been sitting there drinking with me and they look at my eyes, they get a little shocked because all of a sudden they see octopus twins kind of staring at them. Actually, it's a very rare genetic mutation. It's called central and segmental heterochromia. I know that's a lot. I hesitated to share this, to tell people about it, but I've had so many people ask me when they meet me in person, they want to talk about it. You know, they're looking at me like, what's going on with your eyes? This is the place to be open with you folks. According to genetic studies, a person that has differing eye colors like this, either one blue and one brown, or swirls and mixed up colors, it's weird. They say it's the result of a fraternal twin consuming the other in utero. What? Yeah. So there might be 2 sets of DNA wandering about in my various organs. As far as I know, it only involves my eyes. Can be known as a human chimera. It's strange. All my life, I felt like I was 2 people in the same flesh, all mingled up, but still loving on each other when nobody else loved me. There was always somebody inside me loving me. This is a blessing. I will always have a lover inside me. Boom.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda. We didn't need to see the eyes, I don't think. So good. Thank you. That was so interesting. Wow.
I know you can't see it on the computer right now, but I mean, honestly and truly, if you met me in person, it happens all the time. People look at me and like, you got contacts in?
Mm.
No, I don't.
Linda, what happens if you bring your eyeball way close up to your little camera? Can we see it that way?
I will try. And I mean, once I get close, I'm not going to be able to see whether, what you're seeing. But hold on here. I'm flipping my laptop.
Oh, what's happening now? What is happening?
Oh,
I don't know if you could see it or not.
not quite. But thank you for trying.
I'll post it on Facebook, and so, or I guess actually I could send Sean a picture.
I'll
and
put
you
it
can
into the,
post it.
if you send me a picture, I'll put it, in the, there's a Facebook event for this event, and there's a discussion, and you're gonna have a big photo of her eye. I'm not gonna even say
Okay.
anything about it, just gonna be like, what the fuck? The insiders
Actually,
will know.
I'm gonna do it right now.
You may be able to post it in the event too if you want to. I don't know what the permissions are. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Barbara. Or Linda, sorry, you're not Barbara. Barbara's in Chicago and she's not Linda. Linda's in West Virginia and she's not Barbara. Because that's
And
how
Barbara's a really nice person too.
I don't disagree with you at all. And just for those of you that don't know, I have an open group on Fridays. By open, to be very clear, I mean 3 p.m. Eastern. Some people here have come. Story feedback. If you got stories, you want feedback, it's a nice group of people, somewhat structured. It's not a random mess, which sometimes that can be. So join us. 3 p.m. open. Usually goes for about 2 hours. You don't have to stay for the whole thing. You get feedback. And you can also get feedback on stories too. Usually the
I
first.
just sent it to you.
Oh,
I
you
just
did?
sent it.
You send it to me via
I don't know
message?
if you can post it or not, but I just messaged you.
Oh, I'll hang on. Hang on, y'all. Hang on, y'all. Ooh, yeah. Oh my God. I can post it where? Where should I put? Oh, hang on. This is what I'll do right now. Hang on.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah.
You can just share screen.
I'm not great at that, but I'm going to try. You see that? Can you all see that? So you could see, let's do an analysis of Linda's eye. You see it's sort of a bluish with brown streaks, sort of a lightish brown. Covered in
It's like they're both like that. It's like octopus streaks.
Is it brown with blue or blue with brown? Oh,
I don't know.
good
I don't
question.
know. The fraternal twin that I consumed, I don't know what it was.
Why are you consuming people? Why you got to consume people?
I don't know. I did it, I was probably maybe half a dozen cells or so.
Right. Huh. All right, cool. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff. If I understand, Jeff, I don't want to call you out. I'd love to hear what's going on. You are saying to stop the recording. I'm happy to do that. Sure.
Yeah, if that's cool.
Yeah, hang on.